All right, guys, it's been a few days. I've been working on this in the background, trying to find, if you recall, the issue that we ran into was that we were taking profits too soon most of the time. So I went through the back test and I tried a few different things out to see what would help us to stay in the trade longer. And this is what I came up with. It's still not a perfect exit, but we don't need perfect. That's okay. We're just trying to get into forward testing here with something that's reasonable. So what I did is I still have our entry on the daily chart here. This green line was the 200 period SMA on the 5 minute chart. So I still have our entry there on the 5 minute chart. But I changed the exit, still Bollinger Band, still the top side of the Bollinger Band, but I back tested it with the 30-minute chart and the 15-minute chart because that will, in theory, generally speaking, expand the Bollinger Bands. So that'll give us more room for the trade to run. Here's the results of what I found. So this is with the 5 minute chart. Oh, and by the way, if this looks a little bit different, I forgot a very important piece of information. What we're backtesting on MCL futures on TradingView is actually, it's not a real product. It's an aggregate of the different expirations that are trading, uh, because there's different contracts. There's a front month contract for MCL, and then, further out, there's other contracts. So it just kind of amalgamates them together. And when I did this was right at the end of March, and we were rolling over a contract. So it did kind of change some of the prices. So I went back and I redid all the numbers based on those changes. So you're going to see the win rate's a little different. The expected outcome actually came up a little bit because we ended up making more per trade. Again, this is a back test, guys. Really, just take it with a grain of salt. It's 50 occurrences. It's not robust. We're just trying to get an idea of what's going on. So back to taking profits. I went ahead and tested the strategy, entry on the 5 minute chart, exit on the 15-minute chart with those Bollinger Bands. As expected, win rate came down a little bit, but our profit per trade came up significantly. This average loser size, in theory should match the 200, but I started allowing for the fact that you'd move your stop loss up. Once you get significantly into the trade, you'd move your stop loss up. So some of the trades I got stopped out at more or less break even. That's why this number here doesn't match this number. We definitely came up in expected outcome considerably. Like in dreamland, just because if we dream for a minute, if we were to take 5 trades a week, getting a 1.26 expected outcome, paying for all our losers, every dollar we lose, we make a dollar to pay for that. And then the expected outcome is what's left over. We have an additional $1.26 left over. Then you'd make like 250% on your account in a year. This is dreamland. I'm not going to tell you that you can make that for sure. There's a lot of work to be done on this strategy. Does it have potential? Sure, it shows potential. Yes. But we need to work on the strategy to realize that kind of potential because this is by no means edge. This is not a robust back test forward. It's not going to work this way. So eyes wide open, guys. However, when we move to the 30-minute chart, you can see here our win rate came down just a little more, which it was expected. But our profit per trade, our average winner, came up quite a bit more. As did our expected outcome, came up a little bit more. Uh, you know, all I'm going to say on this is that, when I'm doing my forward test, I'm probably going to start trading to take profits on the 30-minute chart. And as we do our forward test and review, if that kind of stops working out for some reason, then I might go back and start filling out more because I'm going to add on to this, right? I'm just basically going to extend this down and I'm going to start my forward test. and then I have more data. Over time, as we get more and more data, eventually this backtesting results will matter less, but right now we need as much information as we can get. So that's what we're going to start trading. Based on that, this morning I did take an entry on MCL. Um, I took a few entries. What happened here is I set the stop a little bit tight. I probably should have set the stop down here. I set the stop a little bit tight. We got stopped out a bunch of times here. Again, it's just information. We're not pretending that this is going to be a super profitable strategy, and we're not going to go out and spend $500 on a prop firm and start trading this tomorrow. It's just information right now. However, the news this morning was not super ideal for MCL. I mean, it was ideal for the stock market because the news this morning was that Trump made a statement that he does want to pull out of Iran sooner than later and just abandon that war and try to get back on track with, I don't know, whatever he's doing. So with that, that would imply that oil would come down. Now, it's not really coming down, but it's also not going up. So, short term, just on today, that's kind of taking the momentum out. So, when I record this in the forward test, I'm going to add a column for notes because we need to make a few notes. And I'm just going to put that note in there when I record. I'm probably not going to record all these trades. I'm just going to remember that I needed to set my stops a little bit wider, but I will definitely record this trade here. This I set my stop a little bit wider and we still got stopped out anyways. So I will record that one. Gold, on the other hand, is looking more bullish. If we look at the daily chart, you can see we bounced off this trend line. You know, if there was ever a time for momentum to come back into gold, things are aligning. If momentum comes out of oil because of the news I just said, even if it's only temporarily, even if it's only for a day or two, then some of that money, some of those momentum traders are going to be looking at gold again, especially with the way this daily chart looks, where we bounced off the overall trend line and we're kind of some consolidation here. We're looking to go higher. So gold was definitely my more ideal candidate. I'm going to make note of that. And you can see here, I got in right about here uh, on the 5 minute chart. Now, yes, it did not come all the way down to that entry signal. And I've said this before, I'll say it a number of times. There's too many people that are way too worried about getting in at the exact entry signal. They think that their psychology's off and they hesitated or they chased. No, it's none of that. You need to understand another basic market truth. Trading is messy. There is no perfect timing. There's no perfect anything. That's not the way trading works. We come up with a group, a data set of trades based on a criteria, and something close to that is going to work. And what you need the data for, I mean, what we're doing here is we're training discretionary trading, right? But we use the data at the beginning and the criteria and the entries to train that discretionary side. So, what this really translates into is some market experience. The fact that I recognized fairly early on that MCL oil is not going to be quite, a little damp today as far as not going to be super hot, right? And that gold maybe was more the place to look, and that maybe I shouldn't wait for it to come all the way down to the 200 period moving average on the 5 minute chart. That's experience. That's because I have experience. And you can see that the trade did work out. I set it up a little bit higher than if we go to the 30-minute chart here. You can see again, the Bollinger Bands didn't fully support this move as an exit. I'm just letting you know that's experience. However, if you had traded this according to the raw criteria, you still would have had some sort of win. And then you would have come back and you would have reviewed that trade and you would have seen, okay, combined with this Bollinger Band on the 30-minute chart, maybe I also need to consider this level right here. And that's what I did. I set it my take profit right around this level because I just recognized it was just a day that there was probabilistically more likely for there to be momentum in gold than there was in crude oil. So that's kind of what was going on in my head. Um, Can you guys do me a favor? Leave me a comment. Like, is this something you would like to see live? You can see here I missed a trade on gold. This probably would have been a good entry. This entry would have failed. Like, is this something that you guys want to see me do live? uh, leave a comment. Let me know because I'm more than willing to do a live sweat session on YouTube, answer questions. As I mentioned in the first video, I obviously wouldn't be able to do that live session every day because I have other obligations, other things going on. This isn't the only project that I'm working on. But if you'd find some value out of it and you want to be able to ask me some questions, I'd be happy to do some live streams, let you know in advance that I'm going to do them. Leave me a comment and if that's something you're interested in. And I'll see you on the next one. We're going to start doing some forward testing, and I'll show you how the spreadsheet starts to develop as we start recording some of these trades.